This is the second part of our story of Tonantzin, our great lady, the mother goddess, whom you really see here and under the guise of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now let's go back to how this started, the story. Now the children's version of this is that a humble peasant by the name of Juan Diego had an apparition, and it was the Virgin Mary, and she told him, build me a church here. The place where she told him to build the church was exactly where the Spaniards had destroyed this shrine to Tonantzin, our great mother, which was held sacred by the people who spoke Nahuatl, the Nahuatl language, which included the Aztecs, the Toltecs, that whole region. It was the lingua franca of the region. And so to continue the story, the boy went to the bishop of the place, Samuraga, I think his name was, and he told him this, and the bishop didn't believe him and said, bring me proof. And the boy came back and he brought him roses that were out of season, and when he unfurled the roses, they were in a cloak. It's called a tilma. There was the figure, the shape, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which I guess he took to be the Virgin Mary. Now there's a lot of things amiss with this story. By the way, I have a votive candle. I have it in the background, the waters of this estuary where I'm staying. You see the roses there. Now, the bishop, Samuraga, he was an important man, and not once in his writing, his letters, his journals, anything, does he mention this incident. So something's wrong here. As for the miracle itself, roses out of season are not so hard to produce if you know where a hot spring is, and you can grow stuff there, as they do in certain valleys in the Himalayas, by the way. You see green there, and it's snow all around. Now the cloak is a little bit harder to explain. The cloak is on exhibition right there in the basilica that was built much later at this site, at Tepoyac. My feeling is that they can't explain it, by the way. They've had it examined and they don't know how it was done, how this image was put on the cloak. But we do know from related cultures such as the Mayans, for instance, they have a color they call Mayan blue, Azul Maya, which appears on some of the murals that have survived. And the art, the craftsmanship of making this dye and putting it on a wall is just is lost. Not even the Mayans know how to do it anymore. So my guess is that this cloak represents a method of applying dye on cloth that has been lost, even to the indigenos of today. Let me catch my breath here. Yeah, from this angle, I think you can see the Mexican flag. This goes deep. This goes at the heart of Mexico, because not only do you see the roses and the Virgin Mary, a brown skin Virgin Mary, but the colors of the Mexican flag, or the Mexican flag itself. To continue our story, we meet it again much later, sort of like the 1550s. By this time, the Spaniards had established the first college of the Americas, Santa Cruz, at a site near Mexico City. And there they enlisted Nahuatl-speaking people, those indigenos, to write their language, but then they instructed them in Spanish and Latin in an attempt to voluntarily bring people to the Christianity. It wasn't that easy. They had their own traditions, and you had to talk to them. And this is where the story of Juan Diego is first told, really. We don't know exactly who this was. A much better guess than a humble peasant is that he was a priest or a nobleman in his culture of some kind. One tradition has it that he was the son of the king of Texcoco, which is on the shores of Lake Texcoco. And it was there on that lake, one little swampy island, where the Aztecs, also Nahuatl-speaking people, built their Tonantzin, their capital. And this is an interesting variation of the story, because it was these people that surrounded the Aztecs. I know they were all related by language and stuff. The Aztecs, very aggressive, very warlike. They aided Hernan Cortez in the conquest of the Aztecs. Without their aid, Cortez might have been lost to history. They provided interpreters, and they told them about the Aztecs and what they were like and what their weakness was. Their weakness was their overweening pride. They were a stuck-up bunch of assholes. They really were. On some levels, they were great on others. Pride, arrogance. So that the conquest of Tenochtitlan, their capital. Now remember, he landed in 1519 in the Veracruz area, made his way up, enlisted allies as he went, and also soldiers that went with him. And this was to continue. This was to continue. The Spaniards made allies of these people there, right in the heart of what is now Mexico City, and used them, both as soldiers and to bring people into the fold of Spain. And it was 1519 he landed. 1521 he finally conquered the city, and he did so without fighting. He marched straight in, and on that day, Moctezuma, he just took it nice and easy. He told his soldiers not to do anything. His army was there, happened to be there. His entire army, they had conquered someplace or other, and they were in bivouac, they were resting. They could have just thrown stones down at the Spaniards and have crushed them. But they were told not to. Moctezuma was just too pride. What could this band of a few hundred people hurt him? He was the king of the world. It was their pride that defeated the Aztecs. So now, one tradition has it that Juan Diego, not his real name, that's the name they gave him when he was baptized. You know, they were baptized grown men and give you Joe Schmo is your name, was the son actually of the king of Texcoco, who was an ally of Cortez. Now, this apparition, or this vision, supposed apparition took place in 1531. That's only 10 years after the conquest, after the defeat of Moctezuma. And people were dying of smallpox, and the Spanish were trying very hard to get them into the new religion and learn their language as well. And what I think happened is this. It's a fine example of syncretism, where you try to meld or fuse the two traditions. This fellow, Juan Diego, saw the light. His people wanted something, a building, something to honor their mother goddess, Tonantzin, at this very site, and they built the church there. It was a small affair at first, not like the basilica that's there now. They built it. And the Spanish went along with it. The priests went along with it. If this is what it took to bring these people to Christianity, they went along with it. Just as long as you had the image of the Virgin Mary, you know, no one would know the difference. But she was the brown-skinned Virgin Mary, and the people there knew who she was. She was Tonantzin by another name. And at this college of Santa Cruz that they set up later, the author of this, I know, it's a collection of stories from Nahuatl, and in this one section here it is told, Juan Diego is talking to the Virgin Mary, and these are her words. when she identifies herself to him. This is written later now, and it's written in a style that reminds me of Hebrew and King James Bible. It's a very stately, majestic style. She says, "I am your kind mother, and the mother of all the nations of the earth who would love me." Now, isn't this beautiful? This is the biggest story. This is a bigger story. This is a way to fuse the true traditions and come up with something that everybody can give their heart to. And here's more examples of that style. I don't know what I said earlier. 1649, as I see in my notes, is when this was actually written 100 years later. And this is more of what she says. "I am the mother of the one great God of truth, the one through whom we all live, the creator of people, Lord of the near and the far." It's that beautiful poetic language. And, well, I bring this up, that what you're seeing here is a successful attempt to make a bigger story of things. Just as we need now. We need to take all the people of the book and everybody else on the globe and forge among ourselves a bigger story so that we can all act as one. You know, we don't have to destroy the old stories to make a bigger story. And I just have to remind you what Jesus said. He was criticized, right? He was telling a new story. He said, "I have not come to destroy the law, I have come to fulfill it." And that's the spirit. And that's the spirit of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the most popular shrine in Mexico, but for Christians, for Catholics, it gets more visitors than anything but the Vatican City. That's how popular it is. And it's been carried into war, it's been carried into the home, it's everywhere. It is the national symbol of Mexico. Estoy en el ombligo del mundo, México. Esto es lo que veo.